Have you heard of Airtable, but you don't know what all the fuss is about? Hi, I'm Patti Scharf, CPA and partner at Acuity. Today, I'm going to give you an overview of Airtable, talk a little bit about how we use it at Acuity, and then do a short little demo to just kind of give you a taste so that you could try it out on your own. First of all, what is Airtable? Airtable is basically an online database. If you don't know what a database is, think of it kind of like a 3D spreadsheet. And I think the best way to help you understand this is by giving you an example. So let's say you have a team of people and you have one spreadsheet where you're keeping track of all of their t-shirt sizes. And on another spreadsheet, you're keeping track of their birthdays. And somebody else has a spreadsheet that's keeping track of the computers that they are using. Now, when you have a new person entering the team, now you have to add them to all these 3 different spreadsheets. Or if somebody leaves, you have to remove them from these spreadsheets. So there's this constant game of trying to keep everything current. And there's a challenge in having a single source of truth if you don't use a database. A lot of the tools that we use every day, things like QuickBooks Online is a database, Xero is a database, Salesforce is a database. Anything that's keeping all of your information in one place tied to specific records, those are all databases. The reason why everybody likes Airtable is because it is a database that is super easy to use. If you know how to use a spreadsheet, it's not that big of a jump to learn how to use this database. It's quick, it's easy, it's customizable. You can share it with your teammates. There are just a lot of great things about it. So the way we use Airtable at Acuity is we use it for several different purposes. The first thing is when we first started using Airtable, like 5 years ago, before I even joined Acuity, we were using it as our CRM. So all of our client information was in there. All of our team information was in there. We had information about our computers in there. It was all kind of linked together. So we knew who was working on which clients and all of that kind of information. When we merged with Acuity in 2021, they were already using Salesforce for their single source of truth. And Salesforce is clunky. It's really kind of hard to use. Like once you get it figured out, it's very robust. But we wanted to keep track of some peripheral things, just supplementary information that we didn't want to have to create custom codes or anything in Salesforce to keep track of, like t-shirt sizes or our teammates' favorite colors or things like that, it would have just been too much in Salesforce. So we use it as kind of an add-on to our single source of truth. The next thing we use it for is to pull different pieces of information from different systems together in one place. So we might want to have information about our computer tracking side by side with information from Salesforce that shows us who our teammates are. So we can bring that information together in one place and we can run reports in a single spot. The other thing I like about Airtable is that we can pull together information that everybody on our team might need, but they don't necessarily have access to. So we don't have 150 licenses in Salesforce, or we don't have 150 licenses in our billing system, but we can bring that information together in one place and we can create a view that we can share with our team. It's read only, and so they won't mess anything up, but also they can peek under the hoods without having to get a license to these other systems. But probably my favorite way of using Airtable at Acuity is using it as a backbone for our automation. Because Airtable integrates so well with Zapier, we can perform all types of different automations using the data that's in this database that we've created and building automation on top of that to go run forth and do crazy things. We're going to talk about Zapier a little bit more in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned. Actually, I've got a video that we did several years ago. Zapier doesn't quite look like this anymore, so I want to do an updated version, but this one will show you an example of what we've done in the past. So why don't we take a quick peek under the hood at an Airtable database? Okay, when I chose one of the templates, it had me answer a couple of different questions and walk me through a process to create this sample database. I jumped ahead a little bit because I wanted to show you specific pieces of the database and I wanted to go set those up in advance. But here we are. So the vast majority of this was created automatically by Airtable. Where we are is in an interface view. So what this is it takes all the data under the hood and you can create a custom way of presenting the information that anybody who has access to this interface, they can look at it, but then they can like pick and choose information. Maybe they only want to see stuff related to marketing. Maybe they only want to see stuff related to the website design. It'll automatically kind of filter this information for you. You can also group things on the side. I'm going to group it by status so you can see how it like slices and dices the information for you. And you can filter things, you can sort things, you can do all kinds of stuff here. This is the end result of what you might be trying to achieve. I personally don't even use this that much because I care a lot about the data underneath it more than the presentation of it when it's all said and done, because I know how to create views, which we will talk about in just a second. Let's actually go backwards a step. So instead of this preview view, let's turn that off by clicking that, and it's going to take you back to the design of the interface. If you look up at the top, you'll see there's interfaces, there's automations, and there's data. Interfaces is the end result. That's the user form at the end. I don't want to look at that. I want to look at the data underneath. So I'm going to go over to data. And here's where you can see the guts of the database. A database is built of multiple different tables. You can have one table in a database, but most databases have multiple tables. And if you are smart about how you're using your data, you'll have at least one table that is synced with another data source. So let's say your source of truth is Salesforce. You might have a table here that syncs to Salesforce. Maybe you've got a source of truth that is in Airtable, in a different database. Then maybe you would sync that information here. And if you look across the top, you'll see all of these little lightning bolts. That means this is all synced data. It's all coming from somewhere else. So now that it's in this database, you can use it, but the information actually lives somewhere else. But this means that you don't have to duplicate it. You can use one source of truth in the information that you're working with. But I don't want to get too complex too fast. Let's start at the very beginning. Let's start with a table. Each of these different tabs represents a different table, and each table looks like a spreadsheet, right? Because it basically is. Each of these columns is just like a column that you would see in a spreadsheet. And you can import, you could even import a spreadsheet that you're already using. If you go up here to the plus sign, you can just hit CSV file or Microsoft Excel or whatever you're using, and you can import it that way. Just follow the steps. It's really easy to do. The columns up at the top are different headings, and you can see that they have different field types. So some might be a formula, some might be currency, some might be linked to another record. This is what makes it a 3D spreadsheet. If you were to click on one of these, so see where it says program? This relates to programs over here. If you were to look over here at programs, you'd see the program, description, start date, end date, status, blah, blah, blah. If you click on one of these and open it up, start date, end date, status. This is basically all of the information from that table, but it lives embedded in this table because the two are linked, because it's 3D. Now let's say that you want to share some information from one of these other tables with a line item that's in this table. So If you just right click here on the heading, you can add a lookup field. So this is a really easy way to pull information into one place so you can look at it together. So let's just add the start date, end date, and description. When you add those three fields, it's going to pull them in here. And then suddenly you are using information from other sources. You're not duplicating information. You're using the same information. This all becomes kind of read-only because you are pulling it from somewhere else. And you can tell that it's a lookup because it's got a magnifying glass. Okay, you can change the row height if you want to be able to read this in a different format. There are all different kinds of things you can do. You can hide fields. So you can say, oh, well, I want to see this information, but I don't care about category or I don't care about expense line. And then suddenly that it's not deleted, it's just hidden from view. And if you want to turn those back on, you can turn those back on. There are other things that you can do. For example, you can look at this data in all different formats. You can look at it in calendar view. So let's just create a calendar because we can. And let's choose the date field as the start date. And actually we might as well do an end date because we have that too. And then hit done. And then when you look at this data, oh, I think it's in the wrong year. Hang on a second. Yep, that's 2022. So I went back to 2022, and instead of month, let's look at this on a weekly basis. And you can see this week, all these different activities were there. If we scroll through, we can see them pop off the list and all that. So you can do different things for calendar views. You can change the colors. You can do a Kanban view. You can do timelines. You can do all kinds of different things in here. You just need to play around with it and see what you like and see what helps you out. Let's go back to the grid view. I want to show you something cool. You can sort this information, earliest to latest, latest to earliest, whatever. You can use this field up here too to kind of achieve that purpose. You can group things, let's say by category. And what I use this for the most, I love doing this, is I will get a view that is helpful for people. Maybe I will hide fields that they don't care about. Maybe I will group them in a certain way. I'll filter out whatever I want to. Just play with all these, you'll see. But then I will go to share and sync, and then I can create a link to view. And when I copy this link and share it with other people, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Oops. It's going to give a read-only version to people who need the information but don't necessarily have access to the other source documents that we're using to build the database. And I can also share it with people who don't have access to Airtable. Like they're not necessarily paid users of Airtable. So I love that so much. I think it's really helpful for a lot of people. The last thing I want to touch on is automations. I think it's a really good way to dip your toe into building automations. I don't actually use it very much at all because I use Zapier because I want it to do 17 different things, not just one or two. But it is a good way to get started. It's pretty straightforward to use. You just go over to the left-hand side, find the thing that you want to do, and it already has the automation basically built for you. So you can go customize over here. Maybe you want when a record matches a condition or when a new record is created. You want it to, let's say when a new record is created in the budgets table, then you want it to send a Slack message to somebody. So this is a really great way to start building on automations and using the data that you have in new and powerful ways. As I'm sure you could tell, I was just barely scratching the surface of what I thought were some of the most important features of Airtable. I could have gone on for hours, but I didn't want to bore you guys. So hopefully you found that helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll catch you later.